So hey everyone, welcome again to my YouTube channel, and today we are going to solve a new question from our top interview and 50 question series, and it is also from our sliding window concept, and the question title is substring with concatenation of all words. So let's get started with the question first. So you are given a string S, and we have been also given an array of string words, and it has been given that the strings present in our array word string is of the same length. And what else has been defined is there is a definition for a concatenated substring in S. It is defined that a concatenated substring in S is a substring that contains all the strings of any permutation of words concatenated. So as you can see that words consist of the strings, and here it is given that if you find the permutation possible of this given word in our string, then it means it is a concatenated substring. So here it also defined it more clearly that you can see that if you see this words array of strings, you can see that it has been given A, B, C, D, E, F, and there are these are the all the possible permutations. That means you can take first A, B, then you can arrange either take this one or you can take this one. Now again you can take this one and you can again take this one or this one. So what exactly you have to do is that you have to make a permutation for each and every string possible. So you another point is also mentioned that you cannot change the words in arranged in here. So that means you can first string, you can see we have two characters, that means A and B. So you cannot swap or you cannot use these characters differently. That means you cannot use CD, then you have used A, then again you used EF, then again used B. So this is not the possible case. So this is not going to be our permutation. So here it is also given an example. Here what it has been done, that we haven't taken the first A, and we have next taken the our CD string. Next we have taken our next what happens is that we have again divided it. So what basically is given that it has been distributed our characters present in our string also. So this is not a possible permutation. The possible permutation is going to be simply we have to use directly strings. That means you have to permute these strings only, not their characters. Now in it is not concatenated substring because it is not the concentration of any permutation of words. Now what we have to do is that we have to return the starting index of all the concatenated substrings in S. So finally what we have to do is that we have to return the indexes of the starting, that means the starting point from which you are getting these permutations. So in example here, it has been given a string, and we have been given an array of string words, and here you can see it has been written 0 and 9. And why is that? Is that if you start from the first index, that means 0th index, and when you start from the ninth index, you are going to get the possible permutation of this array of strings. Now let's get understand this question more clearly and understand the approach which is possible for this question. So here I have taken the first example from our question, and we have been given a string and it has been given an array of a string. Now as you know that it is going to return two answer. First is going to be the 0th index, that means this index, and second is going to be our ninth index, which is going to be here. Now if you check that if you start from this index, first index, that means 0th index, you will first get the first string, that means bar, and next you are getting the second string, that is foo. Now again you move start from the ninth index, you will first get foo and then next you will get bar. So these are the our possible solutions which can be possible from this given string. That's why we the answer is going to be 0 comma 9. So this is the case for our first example, and if you start from any other index, we are not going to get the permutation for the given array of strings. Now let's think about the approaches which can be possible. So the first thing which will be clear to you is that what is going to be happen is that we have to first iterate through this string completely, because the starting point can exist anywhere. That means if you get a first pointer I, it is going to iterate through all the possible indexes in this given string S. Now what we have to get is that when you are at the any index, let's assume you are at the first index, and what you can do is that you can check if it is our possible answer or not. So how you can check that? So it has been already given that we are making the permutation of our strings only. So it is clearly that, and it is also important to notice that their size is going to be fixed. That means here the size is 3, so their size is fixed. So what you can see that if you are at the first index, you can take the first three characters from this string, and you can compare with it the words strings present in the given array, which is words. If it's exist in there, then it is sure that it belongs to that. Now next, when you move to the next, you will take the again the three characters from that, and you again compare it if it is present or not. And you have to also make sure that the first which has been already compared should not be present in our comparison data structure. So that's how we are going to move in this. And if you, for example, let's get a test case. So if you are able to find this, that means you have already get that you have first compared with the bar, and you have removed the bar. Now again you compared and checked if it exists in our words array or not. You found it exists. That means our first possible answer is 0, and you have stored it. So this is the first case. Now next, what will going to happen? So as I firstly mentioned, that each and every index is going to be our answer. So we have to make sure that our I next move to this first index. So this is important. Now again, when you are at the first index, what you will do, you will do the simple same approach. That means you take the first three characters and you compare with the all the strings present in our given words. And if you find that, you remove it. Now again you move on, and you will again check if it exists or not. And if it exists, then it is again our possible answer. So that's how we are going to iterate in our whole loop. One important point which I would like to mention is that another pointer which is going to be our j, and what it is going to be our answer. That means it is going to return our answer. Our I is moving to all the positions, but j is the pointer which is going to return our answer, because it is not moving everywhere. Because when you are at the any one index, that means let's assume you are at the first index, so your j is at the first index, and you iterate the your I. That means you moved your I, and you have checked that if it is a possible solution or not. If it is possible, then you have stored your j. Now again you have moved your j to plus 1, and you are at this position. So you can simply see what is the maximum possible value for j. So you can simply say that if you are at the this position, that means if you are your j is at this position. So if you are at this position, then this is the last possible value for our j. Because if you move to the next, then you cannot make a permutation from this the words, because the maximum size possible from this words is going to be equals to 6. So this is not the limit for our j, but our I should iterate through every possible positions. So using this concept, now let's move to our coding part, and let's see how you can make a coding solution from that. So let's start by taking the length. So first we are going to take the length for word. So we are going to take L is equals to words dot size. Now next we can take the size of this given string, which is going to be same for all. So we can simply write, and let's take it as length of a string ls, and it is going to be word 0 comma size, because we can to take length because it is a string. Now next part we are going to do, we are going to take an ordered map of type string comma int. And why is that? Because we are going to store this strings present in our array words, and we are going to store its frequency also, so that we can simply compare it. So we are going to name it as m. Now next we have to run a for loop from int I equals to 0, I less than l, I plus plus, and simply what we have to do is that we have to store the value in our m as words I, and here we have to do plus equals to 1. So we have stored the frequency. Now let's take this temp map. And why is that? Because we are going to check multiple times, so we need some changes. So we are going to take a temp map, and it is going to be equals to our m. Now second pointer which we need is j, which is going to be equals to 0. Now what we have to do, we have to run a for loop, and in this for loop we are running our I equals to 0, I less than s dot length. And here what we have to do is that we have to increase your I is equals to I plus, and what it is going to the value that we are not increasing with 1, we are going to increase it with ls. Because we are, if we want to check for our possible permutations, we need to check for our strings, and the size of the string is given as ls. So we are checking for each and every string, so that's why we are increasing our I with ls. Now let's see what we have to do. First we have to check if your g is not greater than which value. If your g is not greater, s dot length minus s dot length minus l into ls. If it is greater, so we can simply break. Because it is not possible, so we have to break that loop. Now next what we have to do is that we have to take a string. It is going to be our str, and this is going to be a part of the string which we have to compare in our map. So how we can get that? We can get that by substring, that means sub str, and we have to give the starting index and the length, and length is going to be ls because it is fixed length. Now next what we need to do is that we have to compare it. So we can compare it with the present all the strings in our map. So we can check if our temp dot find, and what we are finding, we are finding str. So if we are find that, that means if it is not equals to our temp dot end. So if it is not equals, that implies that it is present. So simply what we need to do is that we have to decrease the value. So we are going to do temp str minus equals to 1. Now another thing which we have to do is that if our temp str is equals to 0, we have to erase it. Temp dot erase str. And why we are doing that is that if you do not remove it and you again check it, then you will find it in this condition, and we do not need to find it because we have to remove it completely. Now next what happens if we do not find it? That means it's else part. So if you do not find it, let's assume you are at the first and you do not find it. So what you will do, you move your j to the next, that means j is equal to j plus 1. And again important point which you have to do is that we have to decrease our I, that means you have to decrease our I, which is equal to j minus ls. And why we have done, because every time we are increasing with ls, so if you decrease it one time, so it is going to balance it. So we are your I also came at the same position at j. Now, what happens if you find that your temp is empty? So if you find that your temp dot size is equals to 0. So if it is equals to 0, so it simply implies that you have found your first permutation. So what you need to do, you have to store it. So let's take a vector to store our answer, which is type of and answer, and you have to store the value. So what you can do, you can write ans.pushback, and the value is going to be j. Now you have to do the same, that means you have to increase your j to j plus 1. So we have to check for another and our I to j minus ls. So it must be clear to you why you are doing j minus ls, because we are moving your j and I to the same position, and we are decreasing our I less than ls, because next time it is going to be increased with ls, so it is going to balance it. Now one important point which we have to do is that we have to also update our temp to our amp, because we have to again check it, recheck it, and here we have to again recheck it. So here we also have to do the same. Now this is the code for complete. Now we have to simply return our answer. Now let's run this code. Okay, so we have forgot to write here s dot. Now let's rerun again. So it is accepted. Now let's submit this. So it is successfully submitted. So this is a question for today. So thank you all.